Hi, and welcome to the Exceptional Leverage. This is the 9th episode of the season 2. So I just finished recording 9th podcast in almost 2 weeks. So it's quite tiring, but the amount of information I am getting, it's unbelievable. Today I had Julian Timmings with me, founder of Autron.ai solution. And we spoke a lot about technologies, yes, a lot about AI, but also we jump into directions, for example, Formula One world. And I believe that I was genuinely very interested in hearing what he did actually in the Formula One world, but also we covered a lot of other topics. So I believe this episode is really valuable, as I usually believe that my episodes are. So thank you very much for joining Exceptional Leverage Podcast. My name is Jan and I am the host. Ciao.
We get a lot of data in e-commerce, and it can be on the sales, on the customer, on marketing and acquisition. And how do you take all of that and, as a business owner, make an informed decision about some action they should take? And I think, not everyone is, data doesn't, and visualizations and graphs don't necessarily come naturally to everyone. But I think what AI does really well is if you get a weekly email that says these are how your business performed and these are the areas which I think you should look into, and just very actionable things. And that's something we're doing on Autron's side to try to keep customers informed too. Hey, this is how your business performed, these are how the ads performed. A lot of teams build flight simulators, but for racing cars. So that was kind of one thing that was a lot actively being worked on. And the other thing was, okay, how do you simulate the car going around the track and try to develop the car in a virtual world and then manufacture those things or that you think were going to make it go faster in the real world, right? And that's a much more low cost exercise. So what the PhD was doing was developing what's kind of the virtual racing driver. So it's it's software that could drive a Formula One car around a track as fast as physically possible for that car.
Hi, and welcome to the Exceptional Leverage Podcast. My name is Jan, and I am the host here. Today I have Julian with me. Hello, Julian.
Hi, Jan.
Julian is a serial entrepreneur, a researcher, and a CEO and a co-founder of Autron.ai, which is all-in-one Amazon advertising solution. So, Julian, before we jump into all the technology and technical stuff, can you tell me and tell the listeners who you are and what's your background?
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Julian Timings. I'm originally from the UK. I have a fairly technical background, so I did a degree in engineering, and then I went on to do a PhD at Cambridge University in autonomous vehicles. A little bit different to the topic of today, but yeah, that's the kind of quite theoretically minded, I would say. And then after that, I've worked in Formula One for a couple of years. Again, very different to today's topic. But then I realized that kind of entrepreneurship was something that really excited me, and I think that was I transitioned into that in my first kind of business was actually related to food and technology. So this was a cloud kitchen, which I started and was pretty successful. That was acquired by another company a couple of years after we got going. Then I went into e-commerce, did that for a few years, and started selling on Amazon myself. And that's how kind of Autron came about. I was ultimately solving a pain point for my own business around Amazon advertising, and kind of leveraging my technical background to come at that problem from a unique technical perspective. And one thing led to another, I guess, and that company turned into a popular advertising solution for Amazon sellers predominantly. So excited to be on the podcast today and discuss all things AI and advertising, e-commerce, and so forth.
Definitely. Julian, I have a feeling that this podcast could be 3 hours long, because when you said Formula One and food and technology, those are the topics I'm also interested in. And I believe that for people who are, they all think AI is only automatization or, like super agents and so on. But sometimes technology can be connected with different businesses, right? And you mentioned e-commerce as well, and you were selling on Amazon. So how you came to the conclusion, okay, I need to change something. I need to, speed it up with technology because I am not satisfied with the results I'm getting, or how did it start and transition later on to Outron?
Yeah, I mean, I think when I running businesses, I'm immediately thinking like how can we be more efficient or more productive, right? And this ultimately leads you down the path of automation and trying to leverage technology to kind of do many things all at the same time. And in the world of kind of, you know, e-commerce and advertising is obviously is often a very important component, right? And on my own business on Amazon, I realized that Amazon was leaning more and more into ads, right? Like the app was kind of the top of fold was all advertising predominantly, and realized that to be successful there, you had to run ads pretty well. And then I saw the tooling that was available fundamentally out there and the way that you could do it, which was, pretty manual and required a lot of your time if you were to kind of really try to, optimize things. And naturally, I was like, well, there's got to be a better way to do this. How can I make a tool that automates this, and not just kind of automates it in a rudimentary way, but literally turning back to my roots on F1 optimization. How can I optimize the advertising, right? And this is then I wrote software, so I happen to be able to, over the years, learn to write software, and that's pretty, a powerful skill. So wrote software and connected it with Amazon and started running the ads on my own business. And then I connected with Sean, who's the other co-founder of Autron, and I had done a PhD with him also in the UK many years ago. We went different ways, but we remained good friends. And he started selling on Amazon too, separately. And then I kind of shared with him this software, and then he tried it on his business and was like, wow, this actually works really well. And then we started reaching out a bit more broadly to the community and realizing there was an opportunity as well as the option to be able to help other sellers with their advertising. And then we kind of turned it into a software tool, which is what Autron is today. So that's how it kind of came about. And many interesting learnings along the way, I would say.
I believe that as a serial entrepreneur and somebody who has also built and closed a couple of businesses, then I understand your way. And also you mentioned that you wrote the algorithm. So Autron isn't the one, tool which is called a wrapper, which is built around OpenAI API. So it's built scratch by you, right?
It's evolved in a few different kind of themes over the years. I think fundamentally when it was initially written, it wasn't OpenAI wasn't a thing, right? But the topic of machine learning and optimization has obviously been around for best part of 40-50 years. So we started with those fundamentals, I would say. And it wasn't LLM based, of course, but it was different areas of machine learning and what people call AI too. And then as this tooling has advanced, we've incorporated different bits, the bits where the kind of good understanding of linguistics is important, which is different areas of, think about Amazon advertising and similar to Google ads, it's all kind of keyword intent, right? And this is where the linguistic aspect comes in, and where tools like LLMs and so forth are, good at understanding that and piecing that together. But where they're not good fundamentally is kind of like data analysis, I would say, or like big data and understanding that those trends and those insights. So that's why where we are today is we kind of pulled together a few different things, but fundamentally the algorithm at its core is something that I wrote and developed over the years, rather than just as you say, a wrapper or kind of like super deterministic based approach where it's like, if this, do that, else do this kind of thing. This is not what Autron is. And There are some tools out there that do that, but these kind of rule-based tools that make a lot of like linear assumptions like break down, I would say, at a certain point. And this is where we tried to take quite a unique approach.
Mm-hmm. And what results do you see actually? Like, how is Autron helping clients to get better? Because I have seen on your site that the first title says Autron is anti-agency agency.
Yeah, this is the kind of when we we went through a quite recent rethinking of like how we present our product, and the pain points we kept hearing from sellers that brands that transitioned to us was around some of the things that a traditional agency might offer, like in terms of quite high, like fixed monthly costs, also charging you based on like ad spend rather than results, and a few other things. And what our kind of view on it was, how could we do the opposite to that, right? It was, variable fees effectively based on success and sales generated by Autron rather than spend. And also the idea that it's on 24/7, it's not like an account manager that, looks at your account for X number of hours per day or per week. So we tried to position it as like, these are the kind of pain points, and we're the opposite to that. And that's been well received, I would say. And it's a kind of interesting kind of marketing approach, I would say.
Yeah, sounds good to me. I know, Amazon in Poland is actually second largest e-commerce platform. I am not sure how the rest of the Europe stands. Maybe you have some statistics how Amazon is actually doing and what big is the marketplace. I just know that.
Yeah. So Amazon in North America is for sure, and obviously the US is the biggest market. And I think number 2 and 3 is Germany and the UK. They're about the same, but they're about 10% approximately of the US market. But if you put Europe together across all I can't remember how many marketplaces there are in Europe, maybe like 10 to 12 or something like this. It's getting close to North America, and it's also growing actually a lot faster. So like, I think that's the interesting and exciting thing is, I think the US market is where a lot of the competition goes straight away. There's a lot of kind of these days, Chinese sellers or manufacturers selling direct to that market. And it's not like the European market is not competitive too, but it's definitely less competitive than North American market. And it's growing really fast. So I think it is a great opportunity within Europe and newer marketplaces like Poland to benefit from that as a brand.
I agree. And, I like to do this podcast because you never know what's in the head of the guest. And I already see how I can use this and how I can use Autron on my side, right, as an agency owner here in Poland. Because if the marketplace is like growing and there will be more and more clients who will need advertising at the end, because I just realized that when you mentioned there is a lot of advertising actually on Amazon happening, it's just not visible so much, like it's everywhere. And I believe there will be clients who will need some support in this. So my question is Autron available in Poland as well? Can I use it?
Yeah, we support all of the marketplaces that Amazon exists today. So like, we have clients across the entire, all over the world using our tool, both individual sellers and brands, as well as agencies actually, right? Because it's a good way for agencies to scale up, right? They can,
exactly.
If they have a tool that they can, use to assist either like supporting more clients or whatever the needs might be, it has some good use cases there too. And it's something that we're also adopting too in terms of how we present the product and some of the tooling. Obviously, the needs of an agency are still a little bit different to that of a seller, but that's something that we're improving our support on, I would say.
And everybody who's listening and selling on Amazon, please reach out to me or Julian directly, and we will take care of you. Don't worry. And going back to that AI, right, and AI implementation, you mentioned that you implemented bits and pieces, like, but how do you see AI being implemented not only in your tool, but also around other tools and other, solutions? Like, what's your plan also for implementing AI in a bigger scope?
Yeah, so I mean, this is more broadly applicable
Hmm.
to e-commerce businesses, I would say, right? The ways that you see it touching those businesses first from a kind of more operational point of view is like support, right? That's one obvious thing where we're seeing like the common kind of support chat widgets having an AI element built into them, and I think they can be really effective in the sense. The key thing is that you have to train them on useful information, right? And normally, this is where you want a very comprehensive help center that
Hmm.
like you can use to actually that
Hmm.
the AI can index, and then it can give like good results when customers ask questions. So that's one area where we're seeing it taking off, and I think there's a bunch of providers out there that provide good tooling around that. But I think as an e-commerce owner, if you want good results, you've got to provide it with information that it can give useful answers back to your customers. Um, I think one area we see is quite an exciting opportunity, which again is applicable in e-commerce in general. I think is like trying to distill like data insights into short actionable bullet points, for example,
Hmm.
right? Often we get a lot of data in e-commerce, and it can be on the sales, on the customer, on marketing and acquisition. And how do you like take all of that and as a business owner make an informed decision about some action they should take? And I think not everyone is data doesn't and visualizations and graphs don't necessarily come naturally to everyone. But I think what AI does really well is like, if you get a weekly email that says these are how your business
Hmm.
performed and these are the areas which I think you should look into, and just like
Hmm.
very actionable things. And that's something we're doing on Autron's side to trying to keep customers informed too. Like, hey, this is how your business performed. These are the ads performed
Hmm.
in a super concise and short way that they can just digest quickly. And I think that again is applicable on general e-commerce, like either to your customers or back to the
Hmm.
business owners to keep them up to date. Then of course on like copy, like think about like SEO and content, like written content, at least now it's completely changed, right? You don't
Hmm.
necessarily need to employ kind of content writers in the same way as you did a number of years ago. And you can spin up, blogs and content generation, and that can really kind of, 10x that, the output there at least. And I think as we starting to move away from just text, right? You saw
Hmm.
like a couple of days ago, OpenAI releasing Sora into the wild a bit more, right? So there's video generation, and
Hmm.
you can digital avatars for support and account managers. Like this world is kind of like opening up, I would say. But
Yeah,
there's so many
definitely.
areas that is pretty exciting, I would say.
Hmm. To Sora, I just can tell that it's not available yet in Poland, and so
Oh,
far
okay.
as I know, it's not available besides states and probably UK. Not sure about Germany,
Actually,
but
it's
the
not
rest
in
of
the
the
UK
countries.
either. I think. I think in
Mm.
parts of the EU at the moment, it's and the UK is a bit more restrictive. And I
Mm.
mean, the video length is quite short, right? It's only like I think 5 seconds or something. But I think that
Hmm.
it's kind of open your eyes to kind of
Yeah.
like the direction we're heading, right?
Hmm. I like your approach. You mentioned, it's very important. I have e-commerce clients, and I don't think that they are actually getting any summaries, right, from the tools they are using. They must manually open, for example, a Shopify platform, right, and go
Yeah.
into it and analyze the data, but they don't have summary. So I'm just already thinking about other product I can add into my portfolio, which would be like some automation kind of, right? Take out some data, send to the customer, and say like, okay, this is how your business performs on text for the idea. I think it
Yeah, I
makes
mean
sense.
that's we have that live with Autron on a monthly basis at the
Hmm.
moment. Like you get a monthly email it's pretty digestible
Hmm.
that hits the high level metrics and gives you that summary of what's working and what's not. And, where we're taking the next step for us is to move into a direction where you're chatting with Autron about your account. So you can kind of just ask it questions, and it doesn't just reply from a help center, right? Which is like generic responses, but it's like knows the details of your account. And you can have that more two-way interaction, similar to you would with an account manager, potentially, right? But having it with an AI that's like super knowledgeable and knows the answer to your question and can really like go into the details. And that's something we're actively working on, which is super exciting.
And how will you actually do that? Because I can imagine once you have thousands and thousands of clients, it will be super hard to actually streamline the information just about the one client to the endpoint, right?
No, that's part of the secret sauce a little bit. It's like, how do you give, we call it, how do you give the agent the access to the data it needs to be able to understand that? And that's, we have very large amounts of data, and you still need to kind of, shrink it down into like more manageable things for the LLM to consume and then be able to interpret, I would say. So I think over time, as the context window for these LLMs gets larger, then you don't have to do other mechanisms to kind of to keep it up to date, I would say. But for now, like you do need to consider it down into something a bit more concise. But yeah, I think it's actively working on that, and initial results look really promising, I would say.
And not sure, but you are a person who has a PhD in science, right? Is it science and engineering?
Yeah. So it's. My PhD was actually related to Formula One, but how you kind of make the cars go faster from an optimization point of view. But the kind of theory behind that was very like science, maths orientated, right?
Okay, so I will still keep this one till the end. But my question here is, yesterday, Google announced that they actually launched a new quantum chip. And they say that in the next 2 or 3 years, quantum computing will actually help speed up AI in general. Like there will be everywhere, and there will be quantum based. Like, are you aware of this topic and quantum computing?
Yeah, I'm aware of it. I wouldn't say I'm an expert. I think fundamentally, like current chip architecture is probably, if I'm having a stab at it, it's just limited by the physics of moving the electrons around, I would say, I guess. And as we move into a different paradigm in terms of chip architecture, I think some of those physical boundaries or restrictions, there's obviously other challenges, but it moves it into a different direction and can open up new avenues. But I wouldn't say I'm an expert on that, so I wouldn't want to embarrass myself by saying something too nonsensical there. Yeah, I think it's an exciting area. I think what's clear is the need for more compute, but also in a more power efficient way, ultimately, right? I think, and the combination of those two things mean that we have to kind of develop new fundamental technologies, I guess, to try and meet the needs of where it looks like we're heading.
And I have one-on-one time with you now, so I would be really much interested, like honestly, about the PhD in Formula One. Like, yes, you mentioned that it was about speed and how fast the cars can go. Can you tell us a little bit more about?
Sure. So, as you know, like so F1, is about going around the track as fast as possible, fundamentally. But there's quite limited restrictions on the amount of testing you can do. So back in the day, I would say like 10, 20 years ago, they used to do a lot more on-track testing. Like they used to go to various places in Spain, like every other week and pound around and do a lot of testing. And as these kind of like cost-cutting measures came in place from the sport wanted to reduce the costs. They were like, okay, we can't do as much testing. So what that meant was a lot more effort was put into kind of testing in the virtual world. Right, so a lot of teams built kind of like flight simulators, but for racing cars. So that was kind of one thing that was a lot actively being worked on. And the other thing was, okay, how do you simulate the car going around the track and try to like develop the car in a virtual world and then manufacture those things or that you think were going to make it go faster in the real world, right? And that's a much more like low cost exercise. So what the PhD was doing was developing what's kind of like the virtual racing driver. So it's like it's software that could drive a Formula One car around a track as fast as physically possible for that car. And then you can like virtually change bits on the car and then use the driver that we developed, the virtual driver, to then drive again around the track and like did that changes make the car go faster or slower. So the key thing to be able to assess whether the kind of virtual changes you make were better or worse is you have to have a driver that's like optimal, like the perfect driver for like, and that's what we developed fundamentally in the PhD. It was like the perfect virtual racing driver. And that was, yeah, as I say, like ultimately to help them kind of lower costs, but also I guess like modernize the approach to like F1 car development. So that was in collaboration. That was in collaboration with one of the teams. It's something that was kind of obviously like, there's lots of incentives, I think, to have something there, and one of the teams worked closely with us to help us try to put that together, and it was successful. And I went on to work with that team after I graduated for a number of years before kind of the entrepreneurial pool took me away.
Okay, so this solution is like still alive, so there is use.
I believe so.
In F1 world?
I believe so. Yeah, like I mean, it's certainly a concept which is still very important and relevant today, I would say. So yeah.
Wow. Okay, that sounds really, for me as a Formula One fan, it actually sounds really awesome. And Julian, we talk about AI, we talk about e-commerce, Formula One as well. But I would like to also understand, like, for someone who has experience in machine learning as well, are you using any AI tools, like for your daily job and daily life?
Yeah, I use a few. I mean, I think everyone uses ChatGPT to some extent, and for sure, like I think that's useful. I still look quite a lot at even as the CEO, I still look quite a lot at code basically, and AI is very useful for helping you kind of summarize what code does, or making suggestions or tweaks, or if you have to write code yourself, it can kind of assist in that way by kind of like completing the sentence, I guess, as you write code. So those tools I still interact with frequently. I think I'm always testing things to try to understand how we can bring AI into the operations of the business, I guess, whether that be through kind of like virtual avatars or just trying out the latest and greatest. But I would say my kind of like daily go-to tools are more kind of ChatGPT, and then the kind of like coding co-pilots, I would say, is what I use on a daily basis, I would say.
Okay, so as I hear from almost all my guests, ChatGPT is one of the probably most popular tool, and not very often I hear other words like Copilot. You are actually one of the rarest actual examples who said Copilot. I use Claude, and that's my go-to tool. And when you say ChatGPT, so you do not create any visuals, right? You focus more on that code side, and you use.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just more in like daily productivity workflows, I would say. Like it's kind of like just, everyone has had their productivity increased by, I don't know, 30 to 50% maybe, right? And I just use that to like get through the day and have higher output and, just all the shortcuts that you do that you need to make to have higher output, I would say. But it's useful for like just if there's a coding related thing, or like, I don't know, some kind of like analytics based thing. Like they're useful tools. I mean, I'm not super affiliated with OpenAI and their tooling. I guess I just I try out all of them every now and then just to see how they compare. And obviously, I'm super interested in all the open source work too. To kind of
Hmm.
these are the kind of ones that you can, might make sense for a company like mine to adopt as well. So just try to keep abreast of this particular area that's moving pretty quickly, right?
Yeah, I totally get to the point when you said like, let's get rid of everything, let's speed it up, let's get the highest and the best out possible to enjoy some wine at the end of the
Yeah,
day.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's certainly a good thing.
Julian, you were an awesome guest, and our discussion was really, I think, exceptional because I really value your time, and I know that you are also super busy. So I wish you good luck with the Autron.ai, and let's stay in touch. And thank you
Sure.
very much for being here with me.
Yeah, pleasure. Great talking to you. Have a great day. Speak soon.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.